Hi. How's it going? It's the Heavyist podcast. Weekly worship of the altar of bloody radness. Very relaxed.
That was so wholesome. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm working on myself, Gary.
I feel like you should be in a library. Like, oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I was engrossed in this novel.
Yeah, I should be in a library, just marking everyone off, farting, being sick on people's books. That's what I should be doing.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Just
Gary.
Smoking a pipe, wearing a dressing gown, just chilling.
We're here with some supplementary radness. If you watched that last video, we said we wanted to talk about the body count record.
We do.
I thought it would be a very interesting thing to study and understand why. And also, is it fucking awesome?
For those of you who don't know, Body Count are a 7-piece rap metal band from LA in California. This is their 8th studio album. It's called Merciless, and it comes out on Friday, the 22nd of November through Century Media Records. So, as Sonny alluded to, for anybody out there who doesn't know, for completeness, the frontman of Body Count is legendary golden age of hip-hop rapper Ice-T. And also the band features his son on backing vocals, Little Ice, which is pretty cool. Well, I think you need to come up with a cool nickname for Max that's like Little T. little Tay Dog.
I think there's like a little girl rapper called Little Tay already.
Oh, no. Damn it. All right, maybe not. Don't infringe any copyrights where you're giving your son a cool nickname. Don't want to get in trouble. Anyway, for my shame, and I believe for yours too, I've never really listened to Body Count. I'm aware of the song Cop Killer because it's kind of infamous, and I think I checked it out of pure curiosity. But I think that song might have come out in like 1992. So it goes back quite a way, and they're just a band I've never really checked out. And also, I'm not really too familiar with Ice-T's rap career either. Like, I know he's a legend. I'm aware of his legacy, but my knowledge of Ice-T kind of begins and ends with Law and Order and that episode of Rick and Morty that he's in.
Oh, really? I thought you'd know a bit more about him as the resident hip-hop specialist.
Oh, I won't go that far, blimey. I'm a hip-hop enthusiast, but I'm no specialist for sure.
Wow, you're a specialist in terms of me. If you look
relatively
at
speaking, I guess I am. Yeah,
specialist is definitely me.
But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Why would Ice-T need, or he doesn't need to? That's the point, isn't it? Like, there was a comment in the PR notes where it basically said he acts to get paid, and then he raps and he does Body Count as a way of sort of retaining his sanity, and I really respected that. And like, despite the fact that I've never listened to the band, I've always had loads of time for the fact that he just kind of was he was part of metal, and he's been part of metal for a long time. Like, he's been Body Count have been around since the early 90s. Like, they've been doing it for
92
ages.
That first album is.
Yeah, man, exactly. It's absolutely wicked that, you know, he's been in on the ground floor. I think that predates, like, doesn't that predate the first Rage Against the Machine album?
It predates Rage, it predates Korn, Limp Bizkit, it predates all of that shit, right? Like, so what we think that we know about rap metal and nu metal is probably all a complete load of old bollocks.
It's all
and actually, we owe a lot more of it to Body Count than we sort of realised. I had it in my head that Body Count was maybe sort of more of a thing that emerged after the fact, as like an avenue. Like, they go, I didn't really, for some reason, I didn't have enough respect on them as innovators.
No, for sure, me neither.
And I completely apologize because I'm fucking so down with this record, man. Like, I was not prepared for how much I was going to love this.
I'm so glad you were like, should we talk about the Body Count album just out of like pure curiosity? Because there's no way I would have probably never listened to this album otherwise. No. And it's absolutely brilliant. And I just love the fact that, like, you get a legendary rapper with proper legit, like, serious credentials making this music. And it, you know, obviously I'm I live for metal. I live for this sort of music. This is what I'm all about. But I am well aware that essentially this is like asking Gordon Ramsay to do a shift in McDonald's, getting Ice-T to be in a metal band. But the fact that he does it, and the fact that he does it so well, and usually most rap metal, the rapping is not legit, right? You look at, I mean, obviously Zach De La Rocha is kind of an anomaly, but then you get like, I don't know, Fred Durst or bloody Jacoby Shaddix. Those guys can't really rap, right? They've got nothing really to say. They've not really. I mean, Jacoby Shaddix's parents split up or whatever. Like, there's not really much in the way of like lived experience that they've kind of got to offer. You know, they make fun music and you can enjoy jumping up and down to it and shouting along. But the difference is, like, despite the fact that he's been a very successful guy and he's got a pretty successful TV career and whatnot, Ice-T grew up in Compton. Like, he's got experience of that real side of gangster rap and where that all kind of comes from. And he brings that to metal, and he brings that to this album in such an awesome way.
Yeah. It's unreal. Like this album is such a passion project that I
for sure.
Absolutely adore it. Like, I love how, you know, I mean, first of all, right, when I was like, let's cover this, I wasn't sure. I didn't really know anything other than I thought it would be a fun thing to talk about. Like, just to, like I said, understand why it's made. Is it good? Like, what is it? Like, is there anything we can actually sort of take away from this?
Yeah.
And then I get into the press notes and read it, and then like straight away you realize, so it's a Will Putney joint. Did not realize that was a thing. So I'm excited.
I think he did the previous record as well, just for a bit of context.
I think since 2018. So he's been part of this sort of like reinvigoration of Body Count, from what I understand. And he does a lot of the writing of the record by the seams of it. And so you've got that. And then the next line, it's like, and then there's a feature from Corpse Grinder, and then there's a feature from Joe Bad, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is like legendary shit.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, so you know, you've got like just really really cool, catchy sort of metalcore from swings from sort of metallic hardcore to metalcore to sort of thrash influence. Like the sort of the sonic landscape does sort of run the gamut of cool heavy shit. You know, it's not overly complicated. It's straightforward, bouncy riffery that you can just grab a hold of and get fucking down with it, dude. It's, you know what I like. I feel like this album's got big Tony Hawk's energy. Like, does that make sense when I say that?
I can hear that. Yeah, for sure.
Like, I can feel myself pulling a 900 like on this to this record, and I love it. I could
just imagine the Christ airs as I'm listening to this album. Yeah. Like, the thing is it's not even just Tony Hawk's energy; it's energy full stop. Like, what you got to take into consideration is that Ice-T's 66 years old. Like, this guy is a granddad, like, legitimately, and how much energy and like invigoration and life he brings to this. Like, think about, you know, I don't like to speak ill of Metallica, but think about Metallica and Iron Maiden and the sorts of stuff that those guys are putting out now. And they've been in the game as long as Ice-T and Body Count have. And compare that to this. And this sounds like it could have been made by a band of teenagers, right? It's got so much life and like vitality to it. And I just respect that so much, how he's just the passion and the love of the game. And it's not just like, oh, I guess it's time to crank out another album. It's like, oh, we need to make this album because it's going to be I need it for my mental health and I need the fun, and that just oozes out of it. And like, his lyrical flow is quite iconic. He's not like a rapper who's tend to be known for his bars, although you do get to Mic Contract and blimey, he does give you those bars. But he's definitely, and he was also not really a big like wordplay kind of guy. He's just more about presenting the facts in the most sort of cold, stark manner that he can. And maybe he exaggerates it, maybe he kind of caricatures it a little bit, but that's gangster rap in general. Like, everything's kind of like dialed up to a million, isn't it? It's all like, it's not like they're not exaggerating the things that they've experienced. They're just kind of focusing on the most extreme elements of what goes on and presenting that to you as a way of just saying, like, this is where things are. And it's done so well all over this album. And I feel like it kind of suits metal better than it might do like the kind of Dr. Dre beats that you kind of know it for, because of the aggression that comes behind it.
100%. Yeah, the aggression. I love that. You know, the record is basically like Ice-T just putting the world to rights, right? This is effectively a manifesto. This is him talking about all different issues, wars, drugs, gun violence, stabbings and stuff. And and in every one of them he puts his own little thing in, and every sort of opinion and time he puts himself out there, it's very very likable and personable. Like he's like talking about guns. He's like, I don't want guns, but if you're gonna shoot me, I'm gonna fucking shoot you back. Like, you know, like he's, and I love that. So you've got these tracks that are like really sort of, reflective of the world and him sort of giving his stance. And then at the same notice you get tracks like Merciless, where it's just talking about how much of a fucking badass he is, and that he'll just absolutely murk people. And then also you swing into the Pink Floyd Comfortably Numb, right? So that's like, that's brilliant. That I feel like that's like a reimagining of the, you know, like the Eminem track with the Zeppelin sample all over it. Like, it's very much like a sort of a new similar take on something like that.
And I've heard a lot of people like slagging that cover off and being like, oh, why does anybody need Ice-T do it Comfortably Numb? I think it's legit. I think
he smashes it. It's all his own shit. It's just, you know,
I think psychedelic like stoner rock with like bars over the top is an untapped resource. Like, I can only think there's a track on Atrocity Exhibition by Danny Brown where he does a similar kind of idea. It's not iconic as Comfortably Numb, but it is taking like a sort of stonery psych jam and then rapping over the top of it, and it's honestly like a really untapped resource in hip hop. I think it sounds amazing, especially when you kind of give it that sort of more lackadaisical type of flow over the top of it. Like it works so well. And I think one of the things, if you read the press notes, one of the things that Ice-T basically turned around and said, I want every song to work instrumentally. So I want it to be like as good as it can be instrumentally before I put vocals on top of it. And you think like hip hop beats don't really exist without rapping. Like, you know, I don't think anyone's ever going to put on like an instrumental hip hop like beats. Not like fully focus on it. Maybe they use it chill beats to study to or whatever, but they're not going to put it on and like that's all. And they're going to really like focus in on what's
listening
happening.
Party for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's not the way that it works. So going for that approach of making sure that every instrumental absolutely slaps, and then bringing everything that he brings to it on top. Like I'm just completely floored by how much I think this album is absolutely fantastic. I'm in love with it. I think it's so good. Like, Interrogation as the opening does have that one lyric which does make my stomach turn a little bit.
I actually reach orgasm in torture.
Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it? That is a lot to take on.
I love it.
But then like you get to Merciless and like that hook, they're like, I have one life to live. I got no more fucks to give. I'm merciless. Like that hook is so catchy. Like, that's properly been stuck in my head as I've just been going about my daily life.
Dark, just atmospheric, bouncy fucking banger, mate.
Yeah, dude. And I just, like you're saying, this whole idea of him putting the world to rights, and it's almost like I'm not going to like do any research. I'm just going to give you my opinion on things that are going on in the world from my perspective without taking anybody else. No, I'm not going to read a news article. I'm just going to tell you it as I see it. Like, fuck what you heard when he's kind of comparing the Democrats and the Republicans to like gang beef, and the way that the like Democrats and blood publicans as a hook is genius. It's so good.
Also with like news outlets and stuff, he's like, CNN is definitely on that Crip shit.
Yeah.
he's awesome.
You just imagine this is him watching the news at home and just shouting it at the TV and someone just shoved a microphone underneath it while he's doing it. Like, I think it's fantastic. And I'll tell you what, there's a bit in that song where it's just like an ad lib where he says, I've got homies in jail for weed, man. And I went and I was like, right, hang on a second. And he's actually got me thinking. I Googled how many people are in jail in America for weed crimes. So there's approximately 33,000 people in federal prison for marijuana related offences in America. And you've got to bear in mind, basically weed's pretty much legal in every state at this point, right? Mm-hmm. And there's still that many people in jail because of it. And like, he's got me thinking about this. I would have never Googled that before. I'd never looked that up to be like, oh, I wonder how bad it really is. So he's got me thinking with these lyrics, because they're so like just straight up and relatable. He's not like blinding me with statistics. He's just putting out a point that like this is just gang beef, and you are at the point where you just kind of at each other's throats just because you support the opposite sides, and there's no rationale behind it other than you're on opposing sides. Like, it's so well put together, and then also it bangs as well at the same time.
I was already so completely in. Like, a couple of tracks in, I was like, yeah, I'm down. I'm so surprised by how down I was. And then you get to Live Forever, which is, you know, starts a bit of a softer track. I go, oh, right, so you're gonna have a bit of a chorusy track. No beef for me, mate. I'm happy with that. I'll take it. Like, you've earned that chorus track, because you've really won me over with these hard riffs, and breakdowns. Sure. Everything's fine. I'm already completely sold on it at that point.
And I know exactly where you're going here. I know exactly where you're going.
If you're trying to make like a track, a lovely metalcore track that's got sweet riffs, a lovely big sung chorus, there's few people on planet fucking Earth that you can get that's be as good as Howard Jones. Like, that's the ultimate place to go. If you wanted somebody to come and sing on a heavy track, you go to Howard Jones.
And he just belts up over the top of it.
So happy.
It's so great. That belt in like the vibrato that he has over that bit. It works so well. Like the guest spots all over this record are fantastic. Like, I would say Psychopath is the best track on here. And that's not just because of Joe Bad from Fit for an Autopsy popping up and dropping an absolutely cold 16 bars over the top, where he, mate, like dropping the lyric of just another motherfucker fit for an autopsy. Like, that's so cool that he does that. But like, the riffs in that tune are absolutely slapping. The one that's kind of like, it's almost like Slayer but mixed with like a beatdown.
It's a proper like crossover.
It's so cool, that riff, like, and it works brilliantly. I think that tune is absolutely killer.
Yeah, I love Do or Die. It's like, ain't no pro gun, motherfucker. I'm pro staying alive. And then, so it's brilliant. I love, you've got all these moments, like, it'll swing from being like super, like almost like sort of comically character, like it'll be a character, and then it'll be like commenting on drug policy and prisons and war. And then for the last track, Mike Contract, is it called
Mike Contract? Yeah, that Mike is what Contract. It's called. Yeah,
dude, as a straight up like proper like gangster rap, it's just hard ass bars about being a contract killer, murdering people. And being incredibly boastful about it. Like, I love how boastful like, it is. And I usually hate the hubris in rap, right? Because I don't really enjoy it or think it's genuine. But when you listen to Ice-T, you're like, you're the man.
All right, dude.
You're not like some geezer in his
sorry, you could go in front of me in the line for the supermarket. I'm sorry. Like honestly, I think that track where there's no hook, there's no chorus or anything like there is in a lot of the other songs. It's just cold. It's just hard bars, and it's like a clinic really in like how to make gangster rap. It's so cool. Yeah. I just love that you can have like The Purge as a song, which is completely ridiculous. Like, just imagine, like, there's a lyric in The Purge where hang on a second, I've written it down, so I want to get it right. Where he's like, stay inside high, that's your choice to do. You might get a knock on the door, we might bring the fucking purge to you. And I was just imagine you were at home and you were like, I don't know, you were like mashed, chilling, like watching Trailer Park Boys,
Ice-T here,
eating Doritos, and then there's a knock at the door, and then there's like Ice-T, like he is on the front cover with a fucking machete. Like, that'd save you up pretty bloody quick, wouldn't it? Like, Jesus Christ. But then you have that next to like a song like World War, where he's literally just putting all the countries that are at war on blast on the same album, and they both totally work, and they're both as believable as each other. One that's a completely like terrible set of affairs, and the other one where it's just based on a B movie horror movie. Like, it's so cool the way that he puts it all together. I just think this album absolutely bloody bangs. there's like this album is going to stay with me. I honestly thought I'd listen to it a couple of times, do a 15-minute podcast about it, and never think about it again. But I think this album's absolutely wicked. Like I would listen to this on a this is as good as like a Gridiron record. We were talking about Gridiron. So this is as good as I could imagine. Gridiron are probably heavily influenced by this.
This is what I was thinking about. Like initially, when I was like, before I listened to it, I was like, sick. It's cool that Body Count exists. It's nice to know that somewhere like that's a band that Gridiron could absolutely support, and like a really big, like they could do like arena tours, and Gridiron would like slip into that bill like just so comfortably.
Yeah, man. I don't think they do arena tours. I think
before I realised.
Sorry, I think they'd choose to play sweaty little clubs, and I feel
festivals and stuff.
I guess they do, yeah. But it's just that the vibe that you get from the band is that like they'd rather do 5 nights at a sweaty club than 1 night in a like a 5,000 cap venue. Like, and I respect that so much from I'm going to go back and I'm going to check out the rest of Body Count's back catalogue after listening to this record. Like, I'm really into what they're doing and I want to hear it. I feel like potentially when I listened to Cop Killer back in the day, I think they had a bit more of like a hardcore punk energy. I'm interested to hear what that kind of shakes out like, because obviously the Will Putney effect. The other thing is like Will Putney's production on this sounds so great. Like he is a guy who's known to have a tendency to really, really, compress and like really put a proper big hefty sheen on everything. This is much more like real sounding, especially when you focus on like the drums. There's none of that like big booming kick pedal effect or all the sort of stuff that he put on most of his like metalcore, deathcore records that he produces. He's left it way more raw, and I think that really helps with the selling of everything that's going on, because you do feel like maybe you could just be listening to them like while you're there with them, rather than it sounding super polished and super clean.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a treat. It's an absolute treat.
It's a worldie.
didn't see this doing that to me.
No, me neither. Completely blown away.
It's one of those records that you could get away with sticking this on when you have people around as well that aren't like a sort of aversive to like, you can't always stick Fit for an Autopsy on when people come around. Like this might be creeping into barbecue album territory.
And it came at the end of November. I ain't having a bloody barbecue today. It's snowing. But I know exactly what you mean. Next year, it'll be coming out at barbecue time next year for sure.
Yeah. It's joining that like sort of short list of albums that are just hard, awesome, and you can stick it on when your normie's around.
Hell yeah. We always need more of those. Yeah.
An album.
Merciless by Body Count, mate. What an album.
Absolute beast. I love it. I'm so stoked. I want to go check out the rest of it as well.
Yeah, man. I'm going to go do some due diligence on this band. We'll see you soon.
Peace.